The Galactic courtroom was a cathedral of cold authority, steel walls lined with silver-veined stone, hovering banners of alien hierarchies, and windows that framed the void of space like predatory eyes. Humanity's blue and green marble drifted far below, small and vulnerable. The chamber echoed with quiet whispers from 100 alien tongues, each belonging to a species that once feared humanity but now saw it as broken, cowed, and ripe for humiliation. Elena stood barefoot in the center of the tribunal platform, her pink dress torn and stained, hand cradling the swell of her belly. Her eyes were ringed with exhaustion, lips cracked, yet her back remained straight. Each breath she took was defiance, even as the Empire tried to dress it up as submission. Her son, Liam, clung to her side. Dirty, tear-streaked, and trembling, he wore a threadbare tunic that had once been his father's. The boy didn't understand politics, or empires, or propaganda. All he knew was fear, and the instinct that something awful was about to happen. Across from them, lounging on a throne-like dais raised above the crowd, sat General Zeroth Malvik. Blue-skinned, towering, dressed in the gleaming black and gold armor of the Empire's exalted command, Zeroth exuded contempt like heat from an engine core. His eyes glowed faintly, some biotechnical modification that served no purpose but intimidation. He'd presided over the subjugation of 4 dozen systems, crushed revolts with orbital strikes, and executed entire bloodlines for insubordination. But today, he faced only one woman and her child, and still wore the look of a predator amused by a cornered mouse. The translator's sphere hovered between them, humming softly. Elena Karas of Earth intoned the proclamation drone, its voice mechanical yet brimming with rehearsed menace. You stand accused of treason against the Galactic Empire. You are charged with providing aid to insurrectionists, harboring fugitive intelligence assets, and inciting civil unrest on a Class II subjugated world. Elena did not flinch. Her gaze locked onto Zeroth's. I gave food to a dying man. That's not treason. That's mercy. A wave of chuckles rippled through the gallery of aliens seated in the auditorium rows behind the court floor. Some were curious observers, others loyalists of the Empire. None raised a voice in protest. The dying man had been a rebel scout, a human, disfigured, half-burnt, and fleeing. Elena hadn't known his name. She'd only known he was starving. You fed a terrorist, Zeroth said, rising slowly. His voice was velvet over razors. In doing so, you became one. I fed a man, she repeated, her voice rising. Not a cause. Not a symbol. A man. Zeroth stepped down from the dais. The room fell silent. Even the translators seemed to hold their breath. The general's boots clanked across the floor as he approached her, each step deliberate. Liam whimpered. Elena reached out and held him behind her leg, a barrier of flesh and instinct. What is the punishment for treason, citizen? Zeroth asked softly, almost conversational. You already know, she replied. I want you to say it. She stared up at him, neck tilted, eyes full of hate she barely contained. Death. Zeroth smiled. In a motion so swift it bypassed shock, he turned, pivoted, and brought his leg up in a soldier's snap kick, straight into Elena's abdomen. The sound was horrifying. Not a scream, not a cry, just the dull, wet thud of flesh breaking beneath pressure. Elena collapsed to the floor with a strangled gasp, one hand clawing at her stomach. Liam screamed, throwing himself onto her, tiny fists pounding the cold metal. Cries rose from the crowd, some shocked, others entertained. The translators struggled to keep up. Zeroth turned back to his dais like it was routine. She has confessed through action, he said coldly. Judgment rendered. Liam sobbed uncontrollably, trying to help his mother up, but Elena wasn't moving. Her breath came in shallow gasps, and blood pooled around her thighs. A human officer stationed among the Empire delegation, Ambassador Reeve, stood trembling, pale with rage. You kicked an unarmed civilian, he said, voice shaking. You kicked a pregnant woman. She was a threat, Zeroth replied without emotion. Treason breeds in wombs. The entire exchange was being recorded. What Zeroth didn't understand, what he never would, was that the stream had not been locked behind Imperial firewalls. An enterprising human tech embedded among the diplomatic corps had rerouted the feed. Within minutes, the entire incident flooded human networks across Earth and the colonies. The image, a boy sobbing over his fallen mother, a cold-blooded alien general turning his back, and a courtroom filled with silent monsters. Outrage was immediate. In New Geneva, citizens took to the street. In the domed cities of Mars, red dust mixed with rebellion chant. Miners on Titan shut down operations and raised black banners. Even the peace-obsessed enclaves of Europa issued condemnations. And somewhere beneath the salt flats of Nevada, an old war bunker roared to life. Retired General Marcus Tellar, once the scourge of the Andromedan front, stared at the footage on a massive tactical screen. His jaw clenched. His gray hair was cut short in military fashion, his medals long hidden, but now they shone again in digital archives. He turned to the small group assembled before him. Veterans, engineers, rogue AIs, insurgents who'd never surrendered. Project Retribution is greenlit, he said. One of the younger officers, Lieutenant Cora Vale, nodded grimly. What's the objective, sir? Tellar pointed at the paused footage of Zeroth's kick, frozen midair, right before impact. That bastard, he growled, just kicked open the gates of hell. In orbit, Elena was declared dead. Her body was taken away for incineration, though rumors spread that her vitals flickered faintly during transit. Liam was separated, detained by the Empire for observation, until human diplomats demanded his release. The boy's cries echoed through prison walls until silence replaced them. When Earth's ambassadors threatened war, the Empire laughed. But Earth wasn't bluffing. For decades, humanity had quietly expanded, not through conquest, but through quiet innovation and silent resilience. While the Empire mocked their emotional primate impulses, humans had built quantum AI warcores, stealth fleets that could ghost past scanners, and orbital drop troopers trained in vacuum exposure. They had watched the galaxy grow fat and cruel under the Empire's rule. But now they had something else. A symbol. Elena. Her name spread through encrypted military channels. Her story was whispered in rebel enclaves, etched onto railguns, carved into helmets. On the moon of Callista, a sniper painted her name on every bullet. On Earth, a statue of Elena holding Liam was erected in the ruins of Old Paris. Within a day, it was duplicated in 400 cities across the globe. And across every holoscreen, in every colony and outpost, the final words of the viral footage echoed again and again. They killed her. Then we kill the Empire. The sky over New Santiago burned a dull orange as Earth's first counterattack blazed across the stars. The once bustling orbital station above the city was now a debris field, jagged remains of Empire patrol ships floating lifelessly, carved open by human-made plasma shells that didn't exist on any official registry. Civilians cheered from rooftops and bunkers alike, watching the impossible happen. Humanity had struck back, and won. Aboard the stealth cruiser Resolute Dawn, deep in exomartian orbit, Colonel Rourke watched the feeds in silence. The old soldier, now recalled to active command, wore a matte black combat suit devoid of insignia, ghost gear. His face was weathered, his eyes hard and dry. He had seen too much, lost too many, but he had never seen this, a species pushed so far past the brink that even its most pacifist corners had turned militant. Humanity had been patient, restrained, civil. Then they kicked a mother. Rourke turned away from the tactical displays as the final reports of the Santiago ambush rolled in. 3 Empire corvettes destroyed. 0 human casualties. No warning given. Just execution. Colonel, came a voice from the side, Lieutenant Cora Vale, young, sharp, with fury stitched into every line of her expression. We've received confirmation. Operation Retribution is officially live. All cells have greenlit synchronized engagement. Targets? Rourke asked. High value only. Command infrastructure. Communications. Strategic reserve. We're not slaughtering civilians. Not becoming them. Rourke nodded once. That was the line. They'd hold it. In the war room beneath Lunar Base Sigma, human representatives and military leaders gathered around a three-dimensional map of known Empire territory. The sectors flickered red and blue, hostile and contested. Fleet movements, enemy strongholds, supply lines, trade routes. The data streamed in from thousands of operatives and embedded intelligences. Director Nia Rahim, chief of the Earth Intelligence Network, gestured to a sector in the outer rim. They're underestimating our reach. They still think we're just reactionary. We've embedded teams in 12 major trade nexuses. We cut their supplies, we burn their fuel. This war starts from within. General Tellar, steely-eyed and pragmatic, grunted. We take their teeth first. Then we decide if we break their jaw. But it wasn't just weapons and fleets that made the retaliation real. It was the why. Every soldier carried it now. A memory, a name, Elena, and more importantly, Liam. The boy had survived. His face, tear-streaked and terrified, was now the rallying image of the war. But more than that, he was alive and watching. No one knew exactly where he was. His location was protected by the deepest firewalls humanity had ever devised. But from time to time, a transmission would appear on secure military channels. A child's drawing. A voice memo. Mom said the stars belong to everyone, he had said once. So why do they think they can take them? That single line became a battle cry etched into fighters, tattooed on soldiers' arms, whispered in loading bays before drops. The Empire had noticed. General Zeroth Malvik sat in a throne-like war chair aboard the dreadnought Tyrannex Dominus, his knuckles tightening as reports filtered in. Human ships appearing from nowhere. Orbital bases being overrun. Loyalist alien colonies defecting or standing down. Psychological warfare, data interference, blackout zones. Tactics the Empire had used for centuries, now turned against them. They're primitive, he muttered. They should be primitive. He slammed a gauntlet against the console. How are they doing this? Adjutant Kell, a slender, chitin-armored telepath from the Valari species, spoke without blinking. They've evolved under pressure, General. Unlike most species, they didn't shatter when conquered. They hardened. Grief became strategy. Vengeance became currency. Zeroth stood and stalked toward the holomap. Their species was never meant to be more than an experiment in compliance. A test of obedience. They failed, Kell replied. They didn't fail, Zeroth growled. They chose defiance. And that makes them dangerous, Kell finished. Especially when they believe they're righteous. The general issued a command. A message would be sent to every Empire fleet. Earth was to be designated an open war zone. No quarter. No diplomacy. Burn everything. But not all in the Empire agreed. On the distant moon of Koresh, Ambassador Rindar of the Ashari delegation watched the footage of Elena's final moments for the 10th time. His species had allied with the Empire for survival, not loyalty. And now he felt something new, a sickness. He saw the cruelty of the tribunal not as order but decay. Across the galaxy, more began to question. At the same time, human retaliation expanded. A coordinated strike across 7 sectors. Cyber infiltration of Empire logistics networks, causing supply convoys to explode mid-transit. AI viruses hijacking comms and playing Liam's sobbing voice before broadcasting. She didn't even scream. Psychological warfare was no longer theory, it was doctrine. Still, Rourke knew this wasn't victory. It was warning fire. And soon, the Empire would push back harder than ever. Back aboard Resolute Dawn, the next mission was forming. Target is the Novar Array, Cora said, pulling up schematics. Empire's primary long-range sensor net. We take it down, we blind them across 6 systems. Team, Rourke asked. Ghost unit. Plus 2 new assets. The lights dimmed as 2 figures stepped forward. One was a heavily augmented cyber commando, no name, just codename Cypher. The other was quieter, more unassuming, wearing civilian gear and no armor. Rourke raised a brow. And who the hell are you supposed to be? The second man held up a small device, a hollow projector. It displayed the Empire crest splitting in 2, behind the faint image of Elena and Liam. I'm the one who leaked the tribunal footage, the man said simply. You can call me Echo. Rourke didn't smile, but something in his eyes sparked. The mission went live within hours. Ghost unit deployed in total silence, black drop pods invisible to scans. The Novar array was nestled in a deep space rift protected by radiation and magnetic storms. Only the bold or the suicidal would try to reach it. Humanity sent both. They landed hard, stormed the facility with precision, and disabled the central power cores in under 20 minutes. Cypher uploaded a worm that erased 30 years of signal data and rewired the comm grid to redirect signals straight to Earth's listening stations. As they escaped the collapsing facility, Echo left behind a single line of code on the main terminal. We saw what you did. Now see what we become. By the time Empire reinforcements arrived, the array was dust. News spread faster than damage control could contain it. The Empire's greatest fear wasn't loss, it was loss of control. And they were losing it now, piece by piece. Meanwhile, deep beneath the Colorado mountains, a secret bunker lit up with new activity. Engineers, exosuit designers, geneticists, all working around the clock. Project Aegis was nearing completion. A new kind of soldier. Not just human. Not just machine. Something born out of pain, memory, and fury. As the war escalated, so did the mythos of the widow and her son. Murals sprang up across free worlds. Rebels adopted Liam's drawings as flags. Soldiers kept audio clips of Elena's last words in their helmets. Do not become them. But do not fear them. The throne world of the Galactic Empire, Velkrith Prime, hung in space like a black gem wrapped in gold. Its surface shimmered with city spires and fortress palaces, ringed by a defense grid said to be unbreachable. From orbit it looked eternal, unchallenged and supreme. But inside, its heart trembled. In the central command spire, General Zeroth Malvik paced the war chamber like a caged beast. His once pristine armor was scorched, patched over with synthetic plates after a narrow escape during the ambush on the Novar array. Reports cluttered the screens, Empire colonies lost, fleets wiped from existence, systems falling into chaos. What infuriated him most wasn't the losses. It was the mockery, the taunts, the damn drawings. Have you ever seen a species weaponize grief like this? He snarled to his advisors. They mourn through war. They sing dirges with bullets. Adjutant Kell stood silently, eyes flickering with thought. It's not just revenge. They're building something. A new order. The more you crush them, the more united they become. Zeroth stopped, glaring. They're insects. They're survivors, Kell corrected. Zeroth drew his blade in a flash, the energy edge crackling inches from the adjutant's throat. They are doomed. And when I kill the boy, when I erase the last of her bloodline, the fire will go out. What Zeroth didn't know, what the Empire had failed to grasp from the beginning, was that the fire had already spread far beyond a boy. Liam Kara's was not just a symbol anymore. He was protected not by shields or soldiers, but by a belief that could no longer be contained. Aboard the Resolute Dawn, the final mission was underway. Colonel Rourke stood before the assembled ghost unit, his tone low but unshakable. The holographic display behind him showed a detailed overlay of Velkrith Prime, its defenses, its vulnerabilities. The objective was not conquest. It was execution. We're not here to burn cities or conquer empires, Rourke said. We're here to end a name. Zeroth dies tonight. The room absorbed his words like gospel. Cora Vale nodded, checking her rifle's diagnostic. Once we breach the atmosphere, it's a straight shot to the spire. We land, we climb, we finish this. Echo, face shadowed under a hood, tapped in a final sequence on a nearby terminal. I've uploaded a deep splice algorithm into the Empire's orbital traffic logs. Our ship won't even register as real. We're ghosts until boots hit ground. Cypher, the cyber-augmented operative, raised 2 fingers in silent readiness. He didn't speak much, but when he moved, it was death in motion. Make peace with whatever gods you carry, Rourke said. Then delete them. Because after this, there will be no one to save him. The dropship departed in silence, cloaked and drifting through the Empire's proudest defenses without notice. As they descended into Velkrith Prime's atmosphere, the air grew heavy, charged with anticipation. Inside the throne spire, Zeroth stood atop his tower balcony, staring at the horizon. He could feel it, something changing. A chill that no atmosphere system could warm. He turned to the sky and whispered, "Come then. Come die with her name on your lips." They came fast. Explosions rocked the base of the spire as Ghost Unit landed hard and breached the perimeter. Security mechs fell before they could complete startup cycles. Guards were neutralized with silenced shots to the spine. The ascent began, floor by floor, a silent war. Cypher moved like a phantom, disabling turrets before they could track. Cora led point, her precision surgical. Echo scrambled internal sensors, laying false ghosts in their wake. And Rourke didn't stop. He moved like a man with nothing to lose and everything to deliver. As they reached the upper levels, resistance stiffened. Elite Empire units fought with desperation, but they were trained for fear. Humans had none left. Not here. Not now. The final chamber loomed, an obsidian dome lit by a central fire core, with walls etched in the blood stories of Empire victories. Zeroth stood at its center, his blade ignited, his face unreadable. "You made it," he said. "She would be proud." Rourke stepped forward, rifle lowered. "She doesn't care what you think." Zeroth charged. The clash was savage. Blades, fists, bullets. Rourke met the general head-on, armor cracking under each blow. Cypher flanked, disabling Zeroth's servos with EMP bursts. Cora provided suppressive fire, forcing the general to retreat toward the fire core. "You think killing me ends this?" Zeroth bellowed. "You think she's avenged by this display?" Echo activated the projector, casting a life-sized hologram of Elena beside the boy. "You made her a symbol," Echo said, voice trembling. "But we made her a promise." Rourke plunged the blade through Zeroth's chest. The general staggered, blood pouring down his armor, disbelief freezing his features. "Shia was nothing. She was human," Rourke said. Zeroth collapsed into the fire core. The Empire's most feared executioner died not in glory, but in silence. Across the galaxy, the signal went out, Zeroth was dead. The throne spire was taken. The Earth fleet had not just retaliated, it had reached the heart of power and torn it out. In the days that followed, systems rebelled en masse. Species once enslaved rose up with fury and coordination unseen in galactic history. The Empire fractured along its seams. Loyalist factions turned on one another. Entire armadas surrendered to human commanders rather than face the alternative. Yet Earth didn't occupy. Instead, they built something else. From the ashes, a galactic accord was formed, an alliance of free systems with a council on neutral ground. Earth refused to dominate it, insisting on equal vote rights for every species. Elena's name was etched into the foundation stone of the council chamber. Not as a queen, not as a martyr, as a mother. In the final days of Reconstruction, Liam stood atop a podium, surrounded by beings from 100 worlds. He was older now, voice steadier. But when he spoke, the room fell into reverent silence. "My mom didn't want a war. She just wanted peace. She just wanted us to be better." He paused, then looked up at the stars through the open ceiling. She used to say we all come from the stars. That none of us are aliens, not really. Just family who forgot how to talk. His voice wavered but didn't break. I remember her. So we don't forget. So no one else gets kicked for being kind. Silence reigned, but it was the silence of healing, not fear. Rourke watched from a distance, his hands folded behind his back. He had not smiled in years. But now, something tugged at the edge of his mouth. Peace would be fragile. War would always threaten. But the message had been burned into history. Humanity would not be ruled. Not broken. Not silenced. They came as victims. They rose as vengeance. They left as architects of a new galaxy.